Yeah, so you basically give it a prompt. I'm showing an example right here. You guys can see my screen, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, so as you can see, you just give it a prompt and it essentially generates a code. I can give the prompt in natural language, more or less. So just English-like statements, and then from there, it generates a code. So you see an example here where they basically say they want it to be vertically centered, and it basically writes a JavaScript code to do just that. So I mean, this on itself is pretty impressive. I think more impressive is the fact that you can use natural language to specify the commands. Now, this system is built on top of something called GPT-3. I don't know if you guys have ever heard about it. But this was a system developed by OpenAI. OpenAI is a research group that basically does research on AI. It was originally founded by Elon Musk and some other people, but Elon Musk isn't a part of it now. But yeah, so they have done several things such as GPT-3, GPT-2. They also worked on something that could play Dota. That I don't know if you guys know Dota. It's kind of like that game. It's in League of Legends. Yeah, so they created something called OpenAI 5 that could play Dota. I think they put it up against like some professional players. And I think as far as I can remember, it did win a game or two. So yeah. But I guess they're most famously known for the system here, GPT-3. The GPT-3 is basically, I like to just call it a language generator. So I've actually used it myself. So essentially, it can generate anything in text. So you can generate proses, poems, stories. You can literally just give it a prompt and like literally it will just continue writing. So for example, the cool thing about GPT-3 is it's basically what's called a language model. Language model basically its job is generating text. So that's what it does. It generates text. And what they did was they trained this language model on basically all the text on the internet. So like all Wikipedia articles, everything. So think of it this way, GPT-3 sort of has a knowledge of how text generally is generated by humans. So cool thing about it, let's say you want GPT-3 to, I don't know, be a restaurant ordering app. You could simply just give it a few prompts of like examples of basically questions and answers. So probably you give it an example like, what time is my appointment for the restaurant? And probably the assistant will reply, your appointment is at 10 a.m. And I think they give you an example with this. Say basically once you give it like, you can give it like a few prompts, and I've actually tried this myself. And essentially it can do the rest from there. So you can just give it like a question and it will just right off the bat just answer it. So I actually used it to see if it could generate patois. I wasn't expecting it to actually do that, but it actually did. So I gave it a few prompts. Let me see if I can find that video.
Can you imagine this is what the like copywriting software, assisted copywriting, this is what the technology would use.
Repeat.
Like this is the technology. There's software out there that generates copy, copywriting.
Yeah.
You start typing and then give it the basic idea and then it runs and does the rest.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that's one example use case. There was another use case where basically you gave it prompts of like it could generate SQL queries. So like basically you just give it a prompt of like what you want and it just generates the SQL. So it's not just text like the regular text that you read. Like it can generate code. Like once it can be typed, it can basically generate it as well. And as I said, all I have to do is just give it a few examples and it works. So I'm looking to see if I can find the example. Hmm, yeah, so I'm looking to see if I can find the example. So there was a JAIA meeting we had where we're actually playing around with yeah, we were actually playing around with is it here? Oh yeah, here it is. Yeah, we were actually playing around with GPT-3 just to see if it could work as a what do you call it, a patois translator. So we actually let me skip us. Where are we? Yeah. So yeah, this is the GPT-3 console. So I had to get like well, I had to request access. So not everybody could get beta access to this. So I had to send an email getting access to this. So yeah, I finally got access. So this is me actually playing around with it. Yeah, so you basically give it some prompts there. So here I give it like, hello, who are you? The AI says, I'm an AI created by OpenAI. And then from there, yeah, it basically kind of knows what the task is from there. This is what we call few shot learning, where basically you can give some a model, a few examples, and then you can learn from that. Typically machine learning, you need like what, tens of thousands of examples for it to complete a task. But with this, basically you can give it a few examples and it can do it pretty well. So yeah, it can do question answering. So here I said, who won the gold in the 100-meter dash, 2008 Olympics? And it answered pretty correctly. So I think as we go down in this video, yeah, so this is me testing out to see if GPT-3 could actually translate patois. And most definitely actually did. So we're seeing an example. So this is me. So I converted this this English to French sort of translation example to a Jamaican English, just to see if it was even possible for like GPT-3 to convert patois to English. So I gave it a few examples here. And then as we move on, yeah, as you can see, I gave the prompt, move over your things them. It actually said, move over your things. And I said, go back to your yard. And it actually says, go back to your yard.
Oh, that's
So,
pretty cool.
yeah, exactly. I said, every mickle make a muckle. And it says every little bit makes a big deal. So yeah, I was actually very surprised by this result. I guess it does show you the power of these big language models. Very big language models. Yeah, they're pretty impressive. Um, Even this, I said me Irie, and it says I'm happy. I don't know how it like I said me Irie today, I feel like go back when I come from. I'm happy today and I feel like going back to where I came. Like like it's amazing how it does that. So basically the OpenAI codex builds upon the same technology. The same GPT-3 technology builds upon that. So The same way how here I'm giving it prompts and it generates a code. It's literally say it generates the English. So I give it part what prompts and gives it back to in English. Same thing with OpenAI codex. Works on the same technology. You give it the prompt and it will generate code. And most of the times the code is actually, so let me actually go back now to the video here. Yeah, so the examples were basically, yeah, they just give it some prompts. Yeah, it's pretty impressive how it manages to more or less accurately translate what the user is trying to say into code. And the results, I guess, prove that.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is. So I think they ended up making a game just from like literally these prompts. They wrote the the yeah, the JavaScript code to the what you're seeing happening right here. So that's pretty cool. Now I guess the question becomes, if currently we can do this, like generate these prompts and it basically can write the code, how much further away is an AI from basically doing everything by itself? If that happens, what does it mean for our jobs or, people in tech, basically? Because I mean, we've always heard about like one of the dangers of AI is uh it basically taking away a lot of the jobs. So I mean, jobs probably in like say factories are automated. So everything more or less is going towards automation. A lot of office jobs are gonna be automated. Basically a lot of the tasks that involve day-to-day repetitive tasks eventually will be or could be replaced by AI. And I guess people who do the actual coding probably thought they were safe from this automation thing. But as you can see here, with the power of the GPT-3 or these big language models, it's becoming clearer and clearer that, we are heading more towards a future where, probably, these systems will be coding themselves. And, the question is, will there be need for a human in the loop? As it stands right now, this is not going to be replacing, because the thing with a lot of these examples, they what you call cherry pick the good stuff. But if you actually read the OpenAI paper, and I think they say it somewhere. I was actually reading this article before it came on. That says why OpenAI's codex won't replace coders. There's a part where they take out well, there's a part of this article where they mention a part of the OpenAI paper talking about codex. And in the paper, OpenAI acknowledged that codex's code contains errors or simply doesn't work 63% of the time. So basically, most times codec write code, I mean, it looks like it should work, but practically it probably won't work. And the next thing they say is it will not be replacing software developers. Well, this is just this author's opinion. So you guys can, I guess, share your own opinions yourselves. But yeah, in the author's opinion, it would not be replacing software developers anytime soon, because a lot of what a software developer does is not actually coding. Like the actual code is probably like say less than half of everything the developer or the engineer has to do. So there's a whole thing about the engineer having to basically talk to clients, scoping the problem, and then from there designing the solution, and then you start writing code. So, in a lot of people's opinion, Codex isn't going to necessarily replace coders, but it could. prove as a good tool for making the job of a coder a lot more easier and more efficient. Now, another argument might be like, okay, well, if the job of a programmer is easier, more efficient, and can do its job faster, then maybe we need less. We don't need as much coders as before. So maybe in a way, we still lose jobs, even if the system is going to be more of an assistant rather than a replacement. So basically, if you have more efficient coders, then you don't need as much coders to get the job done. So maybe the job vacancies won't be as much for tech people. But I guess let me get you guys' opinion. What do you think? Do you think we are heading towards a future where, yeah, even our jobs, if you ever do, well, if you work in, say, the tech field or as a software developer, will there be a point where we kind of have to be considering, okay, like, what do we do? Like, where are our jobs? Or do you think basically AI will forever just be a pretty impressive assistant or just a tool that will still be used by the humans to make their jobs easier? So yeah, let me know what you guys think.
I mean, I think at first it will start off as an assistant, making coders better.
Yeah,
I think it would actually make more people start coding.
right.
So yeah, there will be more coders and it will get cheaper. I don't know what that would, I mean, obviously for the market, that means that maybe they start getting paid less. And I guess the more experienced devs can start focusing on the higher level tasks instead of spending all the time,
Yeah,
on the basic stuff.
right.
But
Yeah,
I think
so
if we use them as assistants, then over time they would learn more from
right,
us and then eventually replace because they've learned so much.
right. Yeah, I think you make a very good point. The whole point of um it actually democratizing software development. Because I mean, to a lot of people, software development is quite daunting. You see all of this, you see the stuff on the left, it seems manageable, right? You're just typing stuff or a description of what you want. You see the stuff on the right, people's heads start, hurting them, like, or most people, which kind of in a way makes the job of a software developer, I guess, more elite, because it seems, well, to most people, if you're a developer, you must be like a smart person or a genius or whatever. But if development now goes from what we see on the right to what we see on the left, where you're basically just typing out a description of what you'd want, then, as you say, the idea of being a software developer, or the job of being a software developer, opens up to a lot more people. So even the average layman who probably didn't even do a computer science degree or whatever can now become a software developer because they have this assistant where they can essentially just give it these natural commands and it just, does the grunt work of writing out this code or boilerplate code, really, that, we don't like having to write. So it takes up time. And as I say, even as a developer now, like, a lot of our time is taken up just writing some boilerplate code. Yeah, code that won't change from project to project. And I mean, if you could have something where that just automatically just generates that for you, that would save a whole lot of time and a whole lot of money to organizations, I imagine. But yeah. Yeah, anybody else have any opinions on the matter? Okay. So let me see.
I mean, it makes like prototyping really easy too. So I guess
Yeah,
there's a lot of wins to it.
right. Yeah, that's a good point. Prototyping. 'Cause I mean, a lot of times you have this idea in your head, I mean, let's say, for example, you're doing a pitch for, I don't know, let's say a company or whatever, you have this idea for an app. Yeah, instead of actually sitting down and writing out the full thing or, coming up, actually writing out a prototype, maybe you can use this to quickly create a prototype. And yeah, you can just show your investors right away what you're thinking about, and then you can get started. So whatever it produces might not actually work in the real world, but at least they have an idea of, like, how it would look and stuff like that. So I mean, that's a pretty good point. Um, yeah, my personal opinion, I don't think, at least as it stands, it's gonna be replacing any coders. It could, like, prove as an assistant, or a good tool to kind of make a job easy, especially, as you said, I think in a prototyping sense, I think this, I wouldn't actually use it to write actual production code, but like if I'm just prototyping an idea, let's say if I'm at a hackathon and I just want to prototype an idea, then yeah, I mean, I use the codex. It basically be the perfect cheat code to help me out with that. But in terms of me actually using it for like actual production code, like in an actual system, then maybe not. Yeah, I haven't put all my faith in the machines just yet. But from what I'm seeing though, it would be foolish to think that its natural progression is not replacement. I think it from what we've seen in the past few years, the scale or speed at which AI is developing is massive. Um, the things that we can do right now, or the things that we've managed to achieve in just a few years with the renaissance of deep learning, is quite impressive. You have more people coming into the field of AI, more people are interested in it and want to learn it, want to do research into it, want to basically be practitioners in the field. It's just going to even accelerate even more and more and more. So you might have in your head, well, codex replacing humans, maybe that's 10, 20 years from now. We'll see. But with the exponential speed at which this thing is moving, 10, 20 years could really be like 5 years. So maybe in, say, 5 years, yeah, this codex thing could be replacing humans. So yeah, that's something to ponder. But yeah, I mean, I think I guess the moral of the story is that, when people started talking about AI automation, they always like made reference to blue collar jobs. So like taxi workers, people in factories. So, AI would basically come for those jobs, but more of the white collar jobs, like say lawyers, doctors, those would be safe. But I think we're quickly seeing that that may not be the case. As time goes on, these tools will become better and they'll become so good that they won't be tools anymore. They'll actually be active agents or participants in whatever they're doing. So they'll be making their own decisions, making their own designs about what they want and producing the results. So the whole idea of a human needing to be in the loop, it may be a thing of the past very soon. So that's one thing to keep into consideration. I think generally having discussions about how AI can, or how AI will generally affect the job market in the coming future, not just internationally, but locally. Something I've always mentioned is, for example, AI um, replacing call center workers soon enough. I mean, as you know, call center jobs are bread and butter for a lot of people in this country. So if those jobs are now being replaced or could be replaced in the near future, yeah, imagine the ramifications of something like that. So that's something to think about.
Actually wrote an article about that in like
Mm-hmm.
2017.
Yeah.
Because I saw the same trend, like government putting everything in this sector. They said they will employ 300,000 people. And
Right.
if you understand like the size of the labor force, that's like 33% of the labor force they want to
Right.
employ in one sector that is so susceptible to this one little innovation right here.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, it's definitely something that more discussion needs, or at least some preparation needs to start happening for that. Because I mean, wow, if because I mean, these are the companies that these people work for are private companies. They answer to shareholders, and if you have something that can make more profits for those shareholders, then of course they're going to implement that system. You think they're going to be caring like, oh, Johnny or Jane is gonna lose their job or can't pay for your kids' meals or school fee. That's not their problem. Johnny and Jane are quite expendable resources. So they have no problem replacing Johnny or Jane or getting rid of Johnny or Jane. If that meant actually making more profits, of course they're going to get rid of Johnny or Jane. Why not? You know, now the next thing could be like, what does that mean politically in terms of government? Of course, will the government allow that? I mean, they may not have much choices. Again, these are private companies. What are they gonna do? Tell them how to run their business? I mean, that's gonna be a whole other thing in itself. But yeah. Right. So yeah, any last thoughts before we, I guess, end this discussion?
Hey, so I think most of what said is correct. I think like the value of the current day coder will drop, and
Right.
then the role will kind of shift into less of the main code, the human writing most of the code to get things up and running, to more like you're more optimizing the output of the AI generated code, just in case it's one of those scenarios where it's only got it like 60% right, or whatever from that article I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Coder is just more of a standing optimizer for the
Yeah.
output.
Okay. Yeah, anybody else? I think Bennett, I think I see online.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like
Okay.
it'll be less humans, developers writing code, or rather the entire code base, and more persons becoming more need persons like BAs and
Right.
quality assurance to check what is there, what AI have there, if it's right.
Right. Good
But
point.
even quality assurance can be automated as well,
Mm-hmm.
at least a non-trivial portion. But I was even working on something like that for my company, my 9 to 5, where I don't remember the tool I was using, but it's one of those popular automated testing pipelines with built-in image recognition. So, for example, it's able to identify drop lists, buttons, text fields, and so on using AI as a part of the QA testing segment.
Right.
So even that aspect is being automated. But as everyone has noticed so far, it's not really a deep level of, or sufficiently deep level of integration. So you would still require the human in the loop to determine what to automate, what task to code for.
Right. All right.
Yeah, I can't really come up and say, okay, this is what the bank needs, this is what the hospital needs.
Okay.
Some initial direction.
Yeah, development is kind of like a science and an art, so it will definitely replace the science. Some people will always be skeptical. So you're going to have the niche jobs like software developers who still have jobs for a while.
Yeah, definitely.
Until
yeah. And the goal is really to just get us out of the requirement to do these tasks. Maybe find something else to focus on, because one of my main goals is to contribute to human level AI. That is AI that can do more than quite a large portion of the cognitive landscape. So that includes anything we can do, basically. Most, if not everything we can do. So the technology may not be there yet for full replacement, or even a large portion of replacement, but one day we'll get there. We'll reasonably get there.
All right. I mean, I guess processed a lot of what you guys said. I agree with a lot of what you guys said. I think this was a pretty fruitful discussion. I mean, something I think we could have more of, not just with us privately, but publicly. Going forward, as I had mentioned in the group, we might have a meetup, a physical meetup soon. Might be in, say, June, or one of those summer months on, say, a weekend. I'll share more details of that as time goes on, but that's definitely happening. But yeah, I mean, thanks guys for coming out. And yeah, next week we'll probably have a new topic that we discuss. So yeah, every week this time, yeah, we'll just have a new topic that we discuss. All right, guys. Thanks for coming. See you next week.
Take
Respect.
care.
Take care.
All right, bye guys.
See you next week.
Yeah.